Hi there, lovely. As a woman who was a grey area drinker for decades, obviously I tried to quit on more than one occasion, and sometimes I could stretch it to 6 weeks. I think that was the longest I ever managed. I managed a month, I managed a week. Sometimes I only managed 12 hours because I would start in the morning thinking, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then have a bad day, and then 6 o'clock comes and the bottle's open. And one of the things that characterized, and to be fair, I didn't see this at the time, but the thing that happened every single time I started drinking again would be that I would give myself any excuse at all to drink, but then the next day, the vile things that I would say to myself about how useless I was, how I was pathetic, and that I would always be stuck in this miserable loop of drinking and trying to quit and proving to myself over and over again that I was a complete failure. And I've found in working with women, they all do the same thing. And it's a bit like, that thing about beating yourself over the head with a stick. It was like I'd put a nail in the end and I was beating myself twice as hard as before, because I was so ashamed of myself because I was a competent woman. I still am, but I was capable. My life on the outside looked successful, but I was sitting in this heap of misery that really kind of bit hard and made me feel so much worse about myself than I had done at the point when I was quitting and before that. And so every attempt to quit seemed to take me further and further down this path of feeling really bad about myself and then almost never bothering to try again because you already know you're a failure. I think one of the big issues with that is, as somebody who was competent, I'm reasonably intelligent, I can figure things out. I didn't seem to be able to get a grip on this and figure it out in the same way that I could figure out how to manage a household budget or manage teams and stuff like that. So it was really hard to settle that within my own mind. When I finally gave up in 2017, it was at the point where I had previously done so many amazing things in my life. I'd travelled, I was teaching in Spain, I was really kind of living the dream, but I was still drinking. And I think I just had that moment that I know many women do when they finally quit, that's enough. I'm just desperate now for this to be gone, and I don't care about the consequences, because I think that was very much something that kept me drinking, thinking about the fears that I had and how I wouldn't be able to cope with stress, and all of those kind of made up things in your head that actually in the end turn out not to be true. So when I quit, I just really didn't care. I just wanted it gone. And after I got through the detox, that sort of 7 to 10 day period, I started to notice something really odd, something I'd not heard before, which was this little voice in my head that said, but you can be nice to yourself. You can, it's okay. You can say nice things to yourself. That's not weird. And over time, that became the dominant voice inside my head, which was, you can be kind to yourself. You can make loving choices for your own self-care. When I started working with women, and previously when I had the Facebook group, I would have conversations and I would find myself saying the same thing over and over again. And this is what I want you to take on board. I really hope that this hits the right spot for you. And that's to ask yourself the question, what is the most loving thing that I can do for myself in that moment? Now, apart from anything else, that question, when you ask it, will never result in the answer to drink, because that would never be the most loving thing that you could do for yourself. But it also starts to open up some doors inside your mind where the answer is sometimes yes, not to drink, but it's also to start doing things for yourself that perhaps you've never done before, like rest, like go for a longer walk, spend time with family in that kind of quality way that in your mind you know you want, to be authentically connected with your partner, not that false intimacy that alcohol provides. Kindness to yourself might be to reevaluate the work that you're doing. That could be the most loving thing that you could ever do for yourself. Now, that answer is going to be different for every woman because we all want different things. But in my experience, asking yourself the most loving question will always provide the right answer. For me, asking myself that question, at the time of recording this, it's nearly 9 years of sobriety. I still use it on a regular basis. And I will, I'll have a bad day. I will feel a bit low, things that aren't going the way I want them to. And eventually I'll remember, because I don't always at the outset, to say to myself, what's the most loving thing you can do for yourself here, Jules? I'm an overworker, so obviously for me it's often rest. But sometimes it's to let go of ideas, thoughts and feelings that are not good for me. And now I am so happy in myself that that question has become, alongside my sobriety, the foundation of my life. I think when you are at that beginning point of thinking about quitting alcohol, doing this, grit your teeth, count the days, find, the biggest well of willpower that will eventually run out. If you've tried all of those things, give that a try and see what happens. Give it a try and see what your kindest voice, because it's in there, what your kindest voice is telling you. Sometimes it's stay and make it work. Sometimes it's leave. Sometimes it is simply make a cup of tea and sit down for half an hour and not do anything. I'd love to know what your most loving thing would be. And if you'd like a little bit of support with that, I've created a little workbook that's got 10 insights of the things that I wish somebody had told me. Because if I had known most loving thing years ago, I would have quit a long time before I actually did. It's in the descriptions box below, and I hope you find it useful. Please like and subscribe. It obviously helps the channel be put in front of other women like you who are also looking for this kind of support. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Take care.